Hey guys, DIY Dad here, coming to you from my family's camper parked in my driveway. Because today, what we're going to look at starting is a project that my wife came up with. This is going to be another design build project, and I use that term a little bit loosely to mean I don't really have a design. I'm going to be figuring this out as I build it, like most of the things that I build actually. So what we have is a Shamrock 233S. It's one of those campers that has the expandables. So you've got like the tent beds that fold out of the sides, and there's a couple more down there for our kids. And for the most part, we love this thing. Like the way it's laid out, the use of space, it's incredibly efficient. It's got a ton of inside room in it. There's one thing, however, that it doesn't do well, and it doesn't have a great spot to put a trash can. And if you're sitting here on this little couch that I'm on, that converts into a bed if you need it to, there's really nowhere for you to set like food or a drink or anything like that. So we're gonna try to solve all those problems in one step. What I'm gonna look to build to sit right here is a coffee table. And that coffee table is going to have some storage in it that we can put a garbage can with a little slide out in, so that when you're at the kitchen area and you're doing prep and stuff, you have an easy place to throw trash. And hopefully we'll have a storage spot on the other side where we can have a hamper for, well, rather that way, for our bed. And ideally allow you to sit here and also give you a place to put your food or put your feet up or do whatever you feel like you need to do. Now with this challenge, I have to keep the height about the same as this couch. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of measuring there. And there's a slide out over there. So I need to make sure that width-wise, if it's pushed flat up against this couch, there's still room for the slide out to come in without hitting it. I've measured a little bit of that when the slide out was closed, so I know I have about 18 inches of width that I can play with. And then measuring the height of this, we're about 22 inches tall. I'm looking at a butcher block top, which is 1.5 inches. So ideally we're gonna be doing the walls up about 20 inches or so for the side cabinets. And then dropping the top on it, that should give us a top about the same height as this bench. And then if it all works out, we'll have a spot for storage on the side where I can have the garbage can and everything else. Like most of these projects, we're just gonna kind of figure it out as we go. I have a ton of materials already in the garage. At this point, really, we're just gonna start building. So first order of business is going to be to sketch it. And I've got a rough concept of that I'll show you here in a minute. And then I'm probably gonna build the box that'll hold the garbage can, since that's kind of the design focus of this. Everything is sort of based around the measurements of that little shelf thing, so I'll show you that. And then once that box is built, I'll build another one to go on the other side. Tabletop goes across the top, a little support bar in the middle just for some extra stability, and we should be done. So yeah, hopefully won't take more than a day or so. I've got about 150 bucks of materials plus the slide out, so about $200 for this project, which is, well, cheaper than I found to buy a little table this size. And any table I buy wouldn't have a garbage can built into it, so it wouldn't work for our solution anyway. So I'm gonna get to work. I'll show you the sketch, we'll check in and do a little bit of that and kind of take the next step together. Okay, so I've got my materials laid out and my rough sketch, but this was the main thing that I'm kind of designing this around, is this slide out trash can. So looking at the dimensions on it, I know I need to be at least 11 inches wide on the base, which is fine. I was planning to go 12. I have to be at least 15.6 inches tall, and then it has to have a slide of about 14.5 inches. So what I'm looking at for this is just a simple design with 2 boxes and a lid. So for the box, I'm gonna go 12 inches wide, 16 inches deep, 20 inches tall. So that will easily accommodate this. I'm gonna build a face frame for the box, and I'll just have to be careful to make sure that my measurement doesn't go tighter than that 11 inches on the front, so that this still has clearance to slide out. I think I'm gonna have a problem with my lower clearance off the bottom of these brackets if I try to go flush, but that'll be pretty easy. I can just raise those up because I have ample height if I'm going 20 inches, and this only needs 16. So I can put a little spacer to kind of lift this up a little bit so it'll clear my face frame when it pulls out and still be stable. So this is our basic design. For wood, I have a butcher block top that I bought that's 2 feet by 4 feet. I have a couple red oak 1x4x6s, and I have this 1x12x8 that I'll be cutting down as well. Edges of this are not square. You should never really assume that they are. So I'll be trimming that out and then essentially running the 1x12 on the bottom and back of the box, doing a face frame on the front and a couple side supports as well. And then I've got a sheet of plywood over there that's going to form the sides of the boxes since they don't have to be structural. So I'm going to start cutting some things down. My 1x4x6s, I'm gonna actually rip down probably to about, between 1.5 inches and 2 inches. I'm not exactly sure. I'll kind of see where we're at with the material, but probably around 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, somewhere in there. And those will form my face frame and then also the sides as well. So I'm gonna get to work on some of this. I'm gonna rip those down, start building the face frame, start cutting the base. Probably not gonna do too much checking in as we go. I'll more kind of check in at each major milestone, if you will. So I've got the first part of my face frame done. So I cut my 1x4s down to 1x1.5. Yes, I know, could have bought 1x2s, but I've never really been happy with how straight they are. So now I know I have something that's perfectly straight and ready to go. I then cut those to 20 inches and I've used pocket holes to connect these together. So essentially this is going to be the front. This is going to run down the side of the cabinet and give sort of the side leg look. Once I sand it and stain it, should go together pretty well. And I'm gonna test a theory with this. So I have 1x12 material. I know the overhang here is a little bit over 1/2 inch, I think. So what I'm gonna try to do is place this on the edge as it would sit if this were my face frame. And I'm gonna mark a line here, do the same thing on the other side and measure between the two. I think I'm gonna be a little tighter than 11 inches, but that's dealing with nominal width of what this is looking for. The actual width of the pullout is more like 10.7. So I might be able to get away with it without having to do any spacers or anything else and use the material in its raw state, which just goes quicker, and as someone who's doing DIY, makes me happy. So I just got the fright of my life as my daughter came running up behind me just as I was finishing that last little piece, grabbed me by the leg and yelled, "I want some more." I don't know what she's talking about yet, but Zoe, what do you think about Daddy's project?
Some more?
Some more? You want me to keep doing some more?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So Zoe wants me to keep working, so I'm gonna keep working. All right, so I think we're at our stopping point for probably tonight and then potentially this part of the video. And where we're at right now is I've got my face frame built. So all this is my cut down 1x2s, and then I used a Craig pocket hole jig and just worked my way around and kind of put this together. And when I measured off my side here, initially everything looked a little bit too tight. I was like, darn it, that's not gonna work. But then I remembered that piece of plywood. I came up with the idea that I would sandwich the plywood between this base shelf and this side part of the frame, which is gonna give me a look that's very similar to the rest of the cabinets in the camper, which would be really nice. And that extra little width of the plywood pushes this out wide enough that my clearances work and the trash will fit just barely in the middle and slide out and life will be good. I'm not totally happy with the way this came together. Some of the wood split a little bit just because of how thin it is, but this is a DIY project and it's our camper. This thing's gonna get abused, so I'm okay with it not being perfect because, hey, I built it. So that's where we're gonna stop for tonight. Tomorrow I'll cut the shelves, build the rest of the box probably, get that piece put together, cut down the butcher block so that we've got the lid, and then I gotta decide what I wanna do on the other side. I'm not sure if I'm gonna build another box like this one, or if I'm gonna do more of an open shelf on the other side. I just haven't figured out what I wanna do with that design yet. So that's gonna end us for tonight. As always, I'll end you with a dad joke, even for this part of this project, and that is, what letter in the alphabet can pirates not live without? I know what you're thinking. You probably think it's the R, but you're wrong. Pirates, in fact, live for the sea. Have a good night, guys. We'll talk to you next time.